If you're ready for freedom from the grind, then passive income from real estate investing is the best way to get you there. If you don't know where to start or what to do next, then the Rent Roll Radio Show is the best place to get you there. Join us while we discuss the best practices, strategies, and mindset you'll need and give you actionable content to get you from where you are to where you want to be. Hey, Rent Roll Radio listeners, welcome back to the show. As always, I'm your host, Sterling Chapman. Today, we are joined with Sam Primm from Faster Freedom. Sam is doing some rock star shit out on social media, and he caught my eye. So I slid into his DMs and I was like, dude, I got to get you on the show. So he was so gracious to accept the invite. Sam, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm really excited to have you here.
No, awesome. I'm excited to be as well. I'm glad you slid right in.
Sam, can you tell our listeners your story, man? What's your background, what you were doing before, how you got into real estate, and what you're doing these days?
Yeah, I'll try to kind of give the Cliff Notes version and we can dive in where you see fit. But I kind of like to say that I used to try to, be on social media and try and be like all these other people. And I didn't have this exciting background. I didn't have this exciting, rags to riches story. I'm just like a normal dude from the Midwest. Dad was an engineer. Mom was a teacher. Dad worked for one company for 40 years. I went to high school, went to college, got a job, was doing, that whole path. And then a couple of years after that, things kind of shifted. I started to invest in real estate on the side, saw the power of being your own boss and, being able to do what you want and being able to, have no glass ceiling on your income. So I started to invest in real estate on the side. And then in 2018, I quit and went full time into real estate. And since then, things have just been gangbusters. I've been buying and flipping and renting. We flipped, which when I say flip, I mean wholesale and a fix and flip. We flipped about 320 houses last year. I got about a $40 million rental portfolio, a little over that I've been able to buy over the past few years using other people's money. And then I've been doing the social media thing for a couple of years and been fortunate enough to get up to about, we just crossed the 2.1 million mark on social media. So I kind of walked that path of normal ass dude to side hustle real estate, to full-time real estate, to financially free. And I think that's a path that a lot of people want to walk. I think that's kind of what I've leaned into. And that's kind of what's really connected with people. And, to show that you don't have to come from money and you don't have to come from, this rags to riches story. You can just be a normal person and make it work.
Awesome. Yeah. And like I said before we hit record, you're doing everything I'm doing. You're just doing it better. So I selfishly created this podcast years ago. It was in 2019 when I started it, because it just gave me a free ticket to just reach out to people that I thought were doing great stuff and interview them. And so that's a lot of the questions that I come up with are just things that I want to know so I can improve my business. And a lot of our listeners are kind of in the same spot, maybe trying to take it to the next level. So the first question I had, as I think it's probably a common subject that a lot of people are jiving with these days is, you'd mentioned you were doing real estate on the side while you had a W-2 job. What was your job?
Yeah, I was started out in sales. I was selling construction equipment. And then at the time I quit, I was actually a sales manager, but just, in sales, having a job that I didn't hate, I just didn't love it. And as I saw the side of real estate and the power of, being able to, be your own boss and, make as much money as you were willing to work for, even in sales, there's usually caps to how much you can sell and what you can do. So just kind of a normal sales selling heavy Caterpillar construction equipment.
Awesome. And so I assume, and that's, I was in sales when I started buying real estate as well. And it's very flexible work, right? If you hit your quota, your boss kind of stays off your ass. So you go sell in this time frame and then commit the rest to your real estate portfolio. So let's talk about the transition from leaving that W-2 job. So I have a pretty large rental portfolio, and I flip a bunch of houses, and I have a bunch of apartment syndications, and I still have cash flow issues. You know what I mean? And I talk to my friends, and they're like, I think everybody just kind of like thinks that you go buy 10 rental properties and then they'll replace your salary. But for me, it just hasn't worked out that way. Maybe I'm buying wrong. Maybe I'm forecasting wrong. But tell me about the transition from your W-2 to full-time real estate. What your parameters were to make that transition? Like, it was that I need X number of dollars in the bank. I need X number of cash flow a month. Like, what was that whole transition like for you?
Yeah, so I didn't, just jump in. Well, two things. I didn't just jump in. I made sure I had a plan. Me and my business partner, Lucas, we own everything together. I didn't, just decide we were going to quit one day. We had planned for it. So we had built up, I think 20 or 25 rentals at the time. And we had, deals coming in as far as wholesales and flips coming in. We knew we had some money in the pipeline, some runway to at least create some income. So there's that. And then the other part of it is I still, and I don't encourage people, it obviously works for some, but I don't encourage people to ever really rely on their rental income because, as you know, if you're borrowing money to buy rentals, and like you said, cash flow can be an issue, especially if you're looking to scale. Like we're hiring things out, I'm not spending very much time in business. So I'm not collecting that much, like a none to my pocket because it's staying in the business. And if you have 10 rentals and an AC and a water heater go out that month, you don't have any income coming in. So I always tell people, if your passive wealth building is your rentals, I don't think you should touch that for a long time, if ever. You have to have active income, and that active income can be your W-2 sales job, or that active income can be in real estate, being an agent and flipping a couple houses a year and doing a couple wholesales a year and making your 75, 100, however much you want to make. It's not really too hard to make 100 grand if you're going to do 3-4 wholesales, a couple flips, and be an agent. So you can kind of have them both be in real estate, but in my opinion, you really need that active income. As well as if you want to build those rentals, trying to live off of cash flow from your rentals is really tough unless it's like paid off and you're collecting 30 grand a month. And, because as you probably see, and then I'll get off my soapbox, some months we're making 25 grand, some months 40, some it's 10, it's all over the freaking place. So unless your high is like 30, 40 grand, at that point, your low is probably 10. But if your high is 10, your low might be 0 some months. So you need to have active income.
Sure. Yeah, I'm really glad to hear you say that because, a lot of days, especially I don't have a partner. It's just, I don't have a partner on my flips and my rental properties. I have partners with my apartment complexes, but someday it's just me in here and it's like, man, am I doing it wrong? Like, or on TV, I'm supposed to be collecting all this passive income. But, like you said, when you add up the water heaters and the roofs and all that kind of crap, it just doesn't work out like that every month. That's so going back next personal issue that I'm struggling with that I'd love to pick your brain on. So you'd mentioned wholesaling and flipping. You also mentioned being a realtor. Are you a realtor?
Yeah, I have my license. I don't ever really use it for anything. I haven't listed up on anything in years and years and years. I just have it more for the connections and the MLS access and stuff.
Cool. So how are you marketing for your direct, or like where are you getting your leads? How are you getting your leads? Because I lived off of wholesalers for years, and when I go to scale, it's like, all right, well the wholesalers can't feed me as much as I want to eat, so we've got to transition to some direct to seller marketing model, and we failed miserably across all platforms. What are you doing to get deals? Like, I don't know we tried cold callers. We've tried, direct mail. We've tried, text message campaigns. What have you found to be the most successful avenue for sustained deal flow?
Yeah. So how our acquisitions are set up. So we have 5 full-time buyers that helps having people full-time going out and look at your houses. And let's just keep it simple math. We bought 300 houses last year. Probably 200 of them came from $0 in marketing spend. I'll get into some systems we created for that here in a minute. And the other 100 came from marketing and ad spend. And our best sources for those are probably direct mail. It's something that, costs money. You have to do it over and over, but not everybody's willing to do that. If you're willing to spend 10,000 pieces, 20,000 pieces a month, that first month you get a deal, second month 2 deals, third month 1 deal, fourth month 3 deals, fifth month 3, like it starts to stack because so many people just give up on it. So there's so many places you can go, so many ways you can stack lists, so many different ways about to do that. Our best are probates, probably sending probate mailers out, things like that, there's something obviously they have to sell, but we do the absentee and all those different things and stack lists, an absentee, pre-foreclosure, water shutoff list or whatever they are on PropStream or things like that. So direct mail is probably our most consistent approach. Ads on Facebook and AdWords, so pay-per-click for Facebook or AdWords, those are expensive, but those will get you, that's pull marketing, right? People are looking it up and people are searching, sell my house fast cash St. Louis or sell my house St. Louis or home buyers in St. Louis area. We do AdWords for those and on Facebook targeting and retargeting and things like that. So those are pretty good for us. But again, they cost money. You have to continue to do it. You're not going to do it 1 or 2 months in a row and probably make it worth it. So you have to make a commitment to it. We've done the cold calling, hasn't really done that well for us. It's done okay. We've done the text messaging, again, really cheap, but really not really the highest quality leads either. And just I don't really like just bombarding people's inboxes or their phones. And then the other thing that's worked really well for us is SEO. When people are searching your name, we have a website that's been around a while. We spend a lot of money, backlinks and authority domains and all those things for that. We have people doing that for us. So that's been really, really impactful for us as far as the paid side goes. The 200 that we buy, those 5 full-time buyers, they're supposed to buy for every house we give them in marketing. They're supposed to buy their own via their own networking. They network with real estate agents, elder law attorneys. They go to senior care facilities and network. They, go to insurance agents and contractors, and they just get their name out that they're looking to buy as is houses. And a real estate agent that lists 20 houses a year, 19 of them are retail ready, and we don't even want them. They don't want us to have them. But that one a year that they list, that's a hoarder house or they don't want to list or won't pass inspection, they bring those to us. And we know this has taken several years to develop. But once we started to kind of do that, it's really started to stack up. I think 3 years ago, we bought 75 houses without $1 marketing spend on the networking side, we call it. Then 2 years ago was like 125. Then last year was 200. So having that basis of, we call it the gravy train, 5 wholesalers, 5 real estate agents, and 5 connectors bringing you leads every single month. It fluctuates, but that's a couple buys a month from that. If you got each one bringing you a couple leads a month, that's 30 leads, maybe 60 leads a month just from that one buyer through his sources that they're doing. So it's kind of a complex, but not super complex system. The biggest thing is we get our name out there that we're willing to buy. We're usually if a wholesaler has one shot at a property, one walkthrough, someone they know can close and will pay cash, then they call us and we're in there. If there's an open house, cattle call, we're not usually the ones for that. But it's just something that's taken time to develop, but it's really, really working.
So when you say you have 5 buyers, what do you mean by a buyer? Like an acquisition manager?
Yeah, acquisition.
Person?
Yep, that's what we call buyers. Yep, their full-time job is to just buy houses for us. They buy 30 to 50 houses a year for us.
And how are they compensated?
They're compensated on percentage of profit, 25% of the profit on the property, whether we wholesale it or flip it. 100% commission. So that's something that could maybe you'd have to have somebody that you could feed leads to help. We say your marketing buys from us is like your base salary. You're going to get a buy or 2, maybe 3 a month, a buy or 2, probably more realistically, from the leads that we're going to provide you for free. But if you really want to make a good living, you're going to have to bring your own leads in as well and spend the extra time in that week networking and finding and connecting with other people, because the off-market industries, like St. Louis isn't that big of a city, but there's thousands of off-market properties a year in St. Louis, and we just, want to get a few hundred of those.
And so you said you give them 25% of the profit?
Mm-hmm.
That's steep. Where are you finding these guys?
They're usually successful wholesalers or a successful just salesperson. And a lot of companies, most of them do like 10% or something like that. But then all they get is, and that's where we've had companies in some of the masterminds I'm in kind of switching to our model, because when it was easy to get leads and marketing was working and everything, let's spend $100,000 in marketing this month. We'll make a lot of money. You'll make a lot of money. But when that $100,000 doesn't go as far and they're not making very much money, you're not making very much money, and they're only coming from your marketing and it's reliant on your marketing for them to make money, you to make money. That's where it's tricky. Like our number one buyer last year bought 30 houses on his own from $0 in my marketing spend. We had to pay him 25% for those. We got 75%, but that cost me $0 to get 75% of 30 houses. So we just pay a little bit more, but it comes with the expectation that you're bringing your own leads in. If we were just paying on our marketing leads, we'd be paying less than 25% for sure. But we have buyers that don't quit. We have the best acquisition guys in town. Everyone wants to work for us because you can make really good money, but it comes with an expectation that you're going to provide your own leads and your own buys, and you have to buy everything through our company. You can't do it on the side because it's your buddy's neighbor or your grandma's house. You got to buy that through the company, and we get.
How do you police that?
Just with the right culture, the right people. They sign it on,
Yeah.
they sign something, but it's just we have our hands in enough and know the buyers and the sellers and, the people that are buying our houses that I'm sure every once in a while it's happened, but mainly the right culture. We're big on culture fit, and I trust those guys. And just, that they're, we see the houses that come in, and I see my grandma's neighbor's house come through the system. So I know that, they're not cornhole in that one. So
Yeah. So what's your criteria? Like, what are you looking for when you're buying a house?
So I mean, we'll buy anything here in St. Louis. Really, we don't really love the war zones. Obviously, like most people don't. We usually stay away from that. Which North City, St. Louis doesn't have the best reputation, mainly because of East St. Louis, which is in Illinois, and then North City. But the rest of St. Louis is actually pretty good. So we pretty much anywhere, and we'll take anything. We get our hands on. Our criteria for rehabbing is right now, $20,000 to $75,000 rehabs on houses, $400,000 and less. So we're going to get in and out quickly in the, entry level, first time ish home buyer price range, not the crazy expensive houses. We've done those, and that's just not our specialty. So if it needs $100,000 or it's a $600,000 house, we're just going to wholesale that one off and make what we can, close if we have to, or double close if possible. And then the flips is where we're getting really, we're really trying to, focus on stuff that we can get in and out of quickly that isn't going to, go way over budget because, because we're into every single wall and redoing every system. So we just try to do cosmetic flips. And then other than that, we're going to wholesale it off.
Awesome. So what is a deal to you? How do you train your buyers to go, well, this is a property I want to buy? Is it all in for 70% of the ARV, or what formula are you following?
Yeah. So we try to teach them 75% ARV. We're for sure going to, so we have a sales manager as well that manages the sales guys and does final approval on all their deals. Like we have the system, the CRM, the buyers have the authority to buy it without our approval. But then if it's a loss, they're on the hook for 100% of the loss. But if we approve it, then, we're on the hook for the loss with them as well if there's a loss. So they almost always get approval. So, we have a manager that manages them and motivates them, but also helps them underwrite deals and look at deals. And if we're for sure going to flip it, then we can let them go up. We haven't letting them go up to 80%, but that kind of kicked us in the nuts recently. We've been losing a little bit of money in that company with this market shift. So we've actually been not very profitable for the past few months. But
that's my question.
Yeah, so kind of depends.
How often do you lose on one?
Probably last year was not the best year. Probably lost on 15, maybe 20 out of the 300. It's just a numbers game, right? If we buy 600, we're going to lose on 40. If we buy 100, we'll probably lose on 5. So I don't know the exact math, but it's just a numbers game.
I made a video the other day saying that if you don't lose money every once in a while, you're not buying enough houses. You know what I mean? You're not pushing it hard enough.
Oh, we're losing a lot of money. We lost 100. We lost 110 grand in November, and we're losing 35 grand this month. December was good, but yeah, it's I look at it as, and I like to read books and these, Good to Great by Jim Collins and these big books. And we've been losing money a little bit lately. And a lot of people in the industry some people are going out of business and some people are, scared. And we don't like losing money, but we have reserves built in. And shit, some of the book I just read, Ford lost billions of dollars in the 80s. We're not Ford, but we want to be a big company. We want to be a $1 billion organization through all of our investment companies, not just a flipping company. So it's okay to ride the waves down and up. And, we just, as long as you're prepared to take some of those kicks in the nuts, you will be better for it. And a lot of the competition won't be, and they'll be gone. So it's one of those things where, yeah, not everything's a home run. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, as you're kind of alluding to, and what's happening to us right now. And I think a lot of people are break even or barely profitable or losing money the past 6 months and probably the next 2 or 3 months.
Yeah. So that's a good transition. How do you feel about the market right now? My take, and tell me if you have an opinion about this. When they first jacked up the interest rates, everybody panicked. Everybody stopped buying. I lost money. I sold shit way cheaper than I was planning on selling it. And then a couple months went by and everybody just kind of calmed down. So I sold a handful of houses in December and January at decent prices with very few days on market. After the rate kind of settled and the hysteria kind of settled, do you feel at this and where we're recording, the beginning of February. Do you feel like the worst is behind us? The worst is in front of us? What's your overall general take on the market, the economy?
So whatever I say is probably the exact opposite is going to happen. So I guess your listeners can get some good advice out of this, because just whatever I say is probably the opposite of what's going to happen. But yeah, I would say it's very market specific. I know here in St. Louis, it's been, a slight dip, but a slight dip's enough to if you're buying at certain numbers and things go a slight dip's enough to take a 20 grand gain to a break even or a 10 grand loss. But some markets will be hit worse. But I think in general, we've seen the worst of it. I think the interest rates were the fastest they've ever risen. No one expected that. It shocked the market, but the market's not even dead. If I remember 2019 in that summer, the rates went up from like 4 to 5, and the whole market shut down. It was like a nightmare. Thinking rates, if they would have doubled then, like it literally would have been like '08 all over again. But the market is so strong, supply is so limited. The Fed knew that, not that they're perfect by any means, but I think they knew that. And that's why they raised them so aggressively to pump the brakes on the market. And I think it has kind of hit that point where it's going to go back to a little more normalization. Spring, summer, hot, fall, winter, slow. Spring, summer, hot, fall, winter, slow. I think we're going to get back to some normalization. People just have this recency bias. If you don't sell for over asking price on opening weekend, the market's dead. No, that's not real. Realistic market, you sell in 30 days, you have one $5,000 price stop halfway in between there, and you make your 30 grand, you move on. That's a real market. Houses are still selling opening weekend or the following weekend. It's still an extremely hot market. There's just so many people in the game that don't know what they're doing. So many people that overbought, over rehabbed, overspent, and still made money because the market was so hot over the past couple of years that people, I don't think, have a realistic perspective. So I think interest rates are leveling out. I think they're going to go up 1 or 2 more times, and I think they're going to slowly start to go back down. And I think the market's going to remain strong because the supply is too damn low for it to really crash.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I'm also the worst with the recency bias. I list a house and I call my realtor every day, and I'm like, "Is it any offers? Any offers?" He's like, "Sterling, I listed it 2 days ago," and I'm like, "Well," and it's because I'm so used to 2020, the beginning of the end of 2021, the beginning of 2022, where it's like we get 10 offers in 2 days. And now when it sits for 7 days, I'm in panic mode every time. But no, that's great to hear. Let's switch over to your marketing. Tell me about your marketing. You've done a great job. You've gotten a huge social media following. My first question is, why are you doing it? My second question is, how are you doing?
Yeah, so I started doing it just to kind of, back 2019, I started posting on like my personal Facebook, a couple of things that we were doing somebody told me to, or I just started doing it and I got so many DMs. We presented our local meetup and there was 350 people there. People just really resonated with our story of just Luke's and I just normal and buying real estate. I think at that time we said went from 0 to 100 properties in 5 years with full-time jobs. That was kind of like the coin phrase for that presentation. And then it really took off. So it was like, So I started to post on it a little bit. We had a local mastermind that I was kind of trying to fill through that meetup. And I just started doing it, just kind of for fun and just to build the brand. And then it really started to take off. And, I did it, how I did it was just posting real content, trying not to flex too much. Occasionally you have to flex to engage the algorithm, but just trying to be real, honest, authentic, be me. It's not super buttoned up. As you can tell, I mumble and slur and stumble a little bit. I'm not like the professional like speaker, not, like a model like some of these guys on social media, but I'm actively investing. So the fact that I'm actively investing with authentic content that I back up with real life examples just is refreshing to some people, I think. So that's why I did it. And that's kind of how I did it. But now I have a mastermind. So I have a mentorship. I apologize. So I have a mentorship on how to do what I did. And I started to build that social media following, started in 2020, launched the mentorship at the end of 2021. So my mentorship has been around since November of 21. So it's been around 15 months. So it's been around 15 months and we have like 980 students in it. And there's almost 200 million real estate owned in the group between the coaches and the mentors. So I'm developing a mentorship that's, a lot of people are investing in. I have students in every single state, all 50 states, and some, have, 50, 60, 70 students in them. So developing a mentorship that is not what I intended with social media, but it just came through people just wanting it and, wanting
And
the mentorship and wanting more help.
People do want it. And I first of all, I'm not a fan of, like I see, and let me figure out how to say this the right way. I see people selling coaching and mentorships all over everywhere. And I've kind of always wanted to stay away from it. I don't know why. It just, the guru, the cheesy guru thing.
It feels icky. Yeah.
It feels icky. But what I have found is that people keep calling me and saying, can I pay you money? And dude, I had somebody call me yesterday. It was like the fourth one in the last 3 months that wanted to pay me $5,000 to mentor them. And my answer is always, I don't even know what that looks like, or I don't even know if I have time or whatever. But after going through two things, one, I've changed my ways. I used to be totally against the guru stuff and the paying. And then after interviewing 170 plus millionaires, real estate millionaires on this show, I found that almost every single uber successful one paid for some type of mentoring and coaching along the way. So that in itself changed my mind. And then just personally getting hit up all the time for people that are wanting, to pay for the coaching. And realistically, like, I always just want to help everybody. I'm like, dude, you don't have to pay me. Like, just call me anytime you want. But you run out of time and you're busy, and you know what I mean? And so it gets to where you can't legitimately do that. So you have to assign a dollar amount to it to like justify pulling away from your family or your flipping or whatever. And so I definitely understand how those courses, how those programs, how those masterminds evolve into what they are today. And I value them a lot more than I did before.
Yeah, I used to roll my eyes at it too. Like you said, it kind of came out of necessity. And I give away so much, I feel like, quality, actionable content for free. So someone can follow my YouTube or follow my podcast and follow anything that I'm doing and, learn a lot. But there's some people that just want more and are willing to pay for it. And I don't advertise it a ton. I mean, you probably knew I had a mentorship. You maybe didn't. I don't like talk about it all the time. I just give information. Then every once in a while, I'll do like a live, or I'll do a story, or I'll do like a webinar. Well, I'll teach, and then I'm like, if you want more, it's a very, very soft pitch. It's not hard selling anybody, because if we have to convince them to sign up, they're not going to take action. And I don't need anybody's money bad enough that's going to buy it and not take action. I don't even want action takers. There's people that say they will. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things where I don't know one successful person, and it sounds like you are similarly, but I can't think of one successful person, like super successful, like multimillionaire, that hasn't wished they started earlier and that hasn't paid for some type of coach, whether it be a mentorship for their business, whether it be a life coach, whether it be a psychologist, whatever it is, paying to be better, paying to be around other people, paying for your friends. I don't know one person that hasn't done that. So again, it's kind of one of those things where I used to roll my eyes at the gurus, and I still do, but I try to be different.
I spend $10,000 a year to be a member of GoBundance. I have a marriage coach. I have a fitness coach. I mean, everybody in every different aspect, you know what I mean? That's good stuff. And a lot of people just like a lot of the people that are joining the group, they like the accountability. They like you looking over their shoulder and reviewing their deal. That's what everybody wants to get started. Everybody's just terrified of buying a bad deal. And I just tell everybody, just buy it. Like, it's, if you buy a bad deal, it's not going to be the end of the world. Like, you lose $5,000 and you learn the lesson and you keep on ticking,
There's there's not as much down. There's downside to it, but there's way more upside to buying any deal, taking action, either whether it be just buying a property or buying a mentorship. If it's the right one, the upside very much outweighs the downside.
Yeah, for sure. I want to go back to some property specific questions for a second that I forgot to ask. One is, how do you determine if you're going to keep a property as a rental versus wholesale it or flip it?
Yeah. So Lucas and I owning all these companies together, we try to pick off rentals, but we don't pick off every single one that would work as a rental. We have a team from all of our companies. We have 38 team members, and a majority of them are buying rentals. So there's over 500 doors in our office just because we encourage them. One of our director of construction that does our all of our flipping and construction, he owns 42 rental properties, and one of our best acquisition guys, he owns 32 rental properties. So like it's normal. We have like kind of a landlord environment around here. So if it's a home run rental, Luke's and I will keep it, or some of the team will keep it. If not, then we'll go down the line. The goal is to fill everybody's wealth buckets with rentals. So if it works, we'll keep it in the office some way, shape, or form. If not, we'll go to flip it. And then the last option is wholesaling. Or if it's like one that doesn't work as a rental, right? Like I would say of the 300 houses we bought last year, only 100, 125 of them were like good rentals. The other ones were crappy houses that no one wants to own as rentals, or at least nobody on the team, or they're, in St. Louis, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 houses that don't cash flow. Shit, $400,000 houses in St. Louis don't cash flow. So I think it just kind of depends on the deal. Is it in that cash flow appreciation, 80% ARV after everything, after everything's in there, money, holding costs, is it in that bucket? If not, then we wholesale it along, and we obviously try to keep the best flip for ourselves, but we don't have unlimited funds and limit everything. We try to keep 5 or 6, maybe 7 rehabs going at a time. So if we got 7 rehabs going and it's a home run rehab, and it's not a rental, then we'll go ahead and sell it.
How do you calculate cash flow?
So we do, it's not like one of those IRR, because, the goal is to do everything out. There's no money out of pocket. So it's not one of those, or cap rates or anything like that, which I guess people use cap rates all the time. I get it because it's cash flow, but technically cap rates for multifamily has nothing to do with the value of the single family cap rate. And single family value and cap rate it's like apples and oranges, but people use them kind of a lot the same. But we just look for $250 a month net cash flow after everything. And I'm talking, tax, insurance, maintenance, all your expenses. But then we have an in-house property management company, and we have all those expenses and the softwares and everything comes along with that. So the goal on paper is to cash flow $250 per door per single family, and then $150 per door for multifamily is the goal. It doesn't always work out that way, and what's on paper doesn't always equate to what actually happens, but that's the goal. As long as we're making some money on them and not having to come out of pocket to own them, I let the properties go up, tenants pay the mortgage down, and get tax-free cash flow along with it. That's what I'm worried about, the long-term game, not the squeezing every dollar out of every month.
Sure, absolutely. So 250, that's a good spread. What do you, and when I say, I'll share my calculation and just let me know how close you are to this, because on months when I don't cash flow a lot and I have a lot of cash flow on properties, that's when I'm asking myself what I'm doing wrong. So I ask guys like you, what y'all doing different. So, I'll take the rent, the top line rent, and I'll take 20% off of the top. So first of all, the first thing I do is I take, let's say it's $1,000 a month. I'll multiply it by 0.8 and say, okay, now it's 800 because I took property management. And again, these are all just pro forma forecasting numbers because I really won't know until a year down the road when I look back on the financials. But I'll say, all right, 5% vacancy, 5% maintenance, 10% property management. And so that's where I take my 20% off the top. And then off the bottom, I take my PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And so then I like to see a couple $100 in the middle. Now, what I've personally seen with my portfolio over the last couple of years is that vacancy and repair number is probably bigger than I'd like to pretend it is on a spreadsheet. And so that's where I'm asking you, like, how do you underwrite that going into it without having real numbers, right? You got to forecast. So what are your forecasts? Fill in the blanks.
Yeah. So you're obviously going to know insurance, you're going to know property tax, you're going to know, you're going to know those kind of things. But we know, 100 where, most people do 10% of gross rent for their property management, in-house or out of house. So those things are kind of known, but the unknowns are the maintenance and the vacancy more than anything. So the maintenance, we set $150 a door aside every month. And then vacancy, we do 5%. So that's how we do it. And something that we do that I think, I'm not saying you're not doing this, but one of the biggest differentiators that we do that I think kind of sets us apart a little bit is how much time we spend on the front end approving a tenant. Like our portfolio is I mean, the first couple of years we bought 2 the first year, 4 the next. So they count, but we started 2014, 15, but we really didn't start making headway until 2017. But I mean, they stay an average of 4 years. So, if in a decade's time, I got 2 tenants leaving and you have 4 tenants leaving, you're probably, if in a decade you have 4 tenants leaving, that decade you're probably broke even on cash flow, because vacancy, you're not collecting rent, you're repairing things that the tenant damaged, you won't get the money back for, and you're repairing things that the tenant didn't even damage. So the more tenants move out, I would say, you got to get tenants staying for at least 4 years. Some people don't talk about in over a long period of time to cash flow. So we spend an extra 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks up front making sure it's the right tenant. They're making 3 times net. We check their bank statements. We call their previous landlords, making sure, and their current landlords. Sometimes we even visit their property to see how they're upkeeping their property. So we spend a ton of extra time up front approving those tenants, and we don't collect money right away, and it's a little bit of a pain. But once they're there, most of them are there for several years, at least we've seen so far. And that really is the biggest difference here. The biggest expense that people don't talk about, you nailed it, is vacancy. When tenants leave, that number you said that's a little low, that just crushes cash flow, because you're not collecting rent for 2 or 3 months and you still have PITI. You still have all of those expenses, plus you're probably forking out money to repair things. So that's been the biggest kind of thing, and it hasn't worked out perfectly. We've had months with 270 whatever rental properties I have right now. We've had months that have not been very profitable, but it's kind of what it is at this point. And we've had good months too, but you're right.
All those units are going up in value. I got a house I got a couple of houses I bought in 2018 for 70 grand. Still have not been cash flow positive 5 years later, but they doubled in value. So
you got to look at big picture. You're right. I think if you're wanting to scale, if you're wanting to buy 10 rental properties, manage them in-house, do everything yourself, spend 10 hours a week doing it with your full-time job, then I think you can cash flow $200, $300, $400 a month for sure. But if you're wanting to scale and do it at higher levels, you can cash flow $200 on paper, but it's not realistic. Like I said, 250 is our goal. We don't hit that very often, especially with today's high interest rates. It makes it tougher, but I'm in it for the long term. As long as I'm not have to write a check every month for my rentals, I'll just let them keep going up in value and doing all the tax benefits with it.
What's next for you guys?
A couple things. Continue to scale and grow. All of our companies, education, there's just so much potential that I haven't even hit with education, and I'm trying to delve into. Like I said, we have, almost 1,000 students in 15 months, which is insane. So to grow that, but we actually started a new company this year to invest some of our money. So Lucas and I do all right for ourselves. We have 4 cash flowing businesses, but we don't live a crazy lifestyle. I don't need to make X amount every month. So I'll either collect a ton of every single month and invest it in crypto, or not do any investment and buy Tesla when I think it's low, or have somebody else do it for me. So we started a company that one of our COOs from our other company moved into, and this company is going to invest 20% of profit from all our other companies, and they're going to take and invest in a blue chip stock and buy other companies. We've been looking at companies like a couple landscaping companies, a wedding venue here in St. Louis. So just other companies, and there's brokers that sell businesses, and you buy them and they're already kind of self-managed, and you infuse some cash and then they grow, and then you sell them or keep them. So we're going to kind of get into the business buying side of it, as well as grow our current companies.
Awesome. So for the sake of time, I'm gonna hop to our radio round. The first question I got is, what's your favorite book?
My favorite book is probably Good to Great by Jim Collins. I just love the book and the lessons in there, and just the lessons you can take from a 1-person business all the way up to a 1,000-person business.
Awesome. And then what was the follow-up to that? Was Built to Last? He wrote that one?
Yeah, he's written several now, but Built to Last. We just read that. So our leadership is the COOs of all of our companies, and Lucas and I, and our CFO. And we do book clubs where we'll read a chapter of a book, and then the first 10 minutes of the meeting, we talk about what we learned from the book. And we just did Built to Last, and I liked it, but I like Good to Great a lot more. So
yeah, cool. What's your favorite quote?
Probably kind of simple one, but it's something that I think about a lot. And I heard somebody say the most dangerous people in the world have this mindset. And the quote is, it is what it is. Good, bad, indifferent. It is what it is. If you don't let something good pump you up, if you don't let something bad drag you down, and you just keep persevering no matter what happens, and it is what it is, that's a dangerous person in a good way. That's somebody that can overcome a lot of shit, and very few people actually embody that attitude. So I try to, and I think that's pretty powerful saying if you actually live it.
That's awesome. I love it. What's your favorite thing to do outside of work?
Just spending time with my family. So I don't have a ton of like hobbies with, the phase of life I'm in. I got a 6-year-old and almost a 1-year-old and a wife of 10 years and all these businesses that are family and business. So that's it. But I get so much joy out of my family and so much joy out of growing my businesses and growing the culture and the team and struggle and growth that I have more fun growing a business than most people do on the golf course or going on vacation or doing all these things. So I just get so much joy and my heart gets filled up so much with my business and my family. I don't need a ton of side hobbies and different things. Of course, I like golfing, but I'll just do what I'm doing now. And it's gotten me to be in a very happy place. And, the bank account seems to get filled up at the same time. So I'm not going to try and change too much.
Awesome. How can our listeners find out more about you, get in touch with you, pay you for coaching, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I would just say follow me on social media if you're not more than anything. You're not going to want to buy my mentorship until you kind of know a little bit more about me. So don't worry about the mentorship right now. I'd say just follow me, whatever social media you're on. I'm on there at Sam Faster Freedom. Then I have a podcast, the Faster Freedom Show I just launched about 6 months ago. And then, so just hit me up on Instagram is the best place to DM me. And then just follow me on whatever social media you're on. And then I got a book coming out, actually. I don't know when this podcast is coming out, but here in probably April, I got a book coming out. So make sure you're checking out my social media. So I'll be blasting that out.
Awesome. We will. Sam, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I took some good notes for my business, and I'm sure our listeners have done the same. So thanks again for coming, and I look forward to keeping up with you on your journey.
Awesome. Appreciate having me, man.
This episode was brought to you by Crestworth Capital. If you're a busy professional and ready to make passive income from real estate investing, then go to crestworthcapital.com where you'll be able to download a free copy of our ebook to help you get started today. Until next week, happy investing.